to a more personal level, all these questions, because you're obviously not Filipino, but your heart seems to be very Filipino. You've been here many years, right? And I was asking about, the viewpoint of the expats who may be considering work in the region or even the Philippines. But tell me more about your story. I mean, you're from Waterloo. The only thing that I know about Waterloo is BlackBerry, Research in Motion that came from the same area. Very interesting story, but I think yours is no less interesting.
Sure. So I came years ago when the fashion was to hire senior technology people from this region and move them physically back to Canada. Now, of course, the smart thing to do is you move the work to Asia, but I really enjoyed it. It was my first time coming to Asia, and I really enjoyed it. So when that 9/11 thing happened years ago,
2001, right?
That work I was doing stopped completely that day. So my wife, who we met in Canada, she had immigrated to Canada from Philippines. She was here with our young children, so we thought, okay, let's spend 6 months in Philippines, and when things pick up again, then we'll go back. And then we've stayed for 22 years, or give or take. But tremendous change over that time, as we all know. It went from what they used to call a sick man of Asia and these kinds of things to now, where it's poised to be the premier destination for businesses in Asia and tourism if we do that one again. So tremendous to answer your question.
Yeah, but I was just wondering how hard or how easy it was for you to adjust, because I know about Canada a bit because I lived in Toronto for a few years, but the system is very efficient, things work very fast, right? Then you come here, they're not just the Philippines, but it's a different pace, right?
Sure.
A different pace, then there's a different system to adjust to. I was just wondering how, maybe from your experience, how long or how difficult or how easy it was for you to adjust.
Yeah, good question, because I think, they do studies of expatriate managers, because it's very important they become acclimated quickly and they're effective and all that kind of stuff. Philippines is one of the better ones there is to get along, but there is naturally some challenge, just like when Filipinos go to Canada. There's a period of 6 months, a year at least, where they're got to figure things out. I had my wife, so she helped me a lot. That was key. But as well with Filipinos, you learn. I mean,
I would imagine that in Canada, even in Waterloo, you probably met a number of Filipinos, because there are a lot of Filipinos in Waterloo, right? So I wouldn't. It probably wouldn't be fair for me to say that you were here because of your wife, right? But probably that's a big factor, right? But you probably met a lot of Filipinos, yeah?
Oh, it was, but you're right. I mean, Filipinos are everywhere, and a large number of
I don't
Filipinos.
Need to compliment ourselves, but...
and I had a very good idea about Filipinos, absolutely. And I think that does help. I've never thought about that before, but you're right, because you meet Filipinos before, they give you some ideas of what to expect in the country, and so you're on the ground, running a bit more.
Was there something that you looking back, you think that it would be better for people like you to adjust and to assimilate in the Philippines? Because I said, you come from a very different system. Obviously a lot of Filipinos want to go there and enjoy that system, but here there are pluses and minuses as well, right? So and my impression is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that when people see the opportunity here, or they're made to come here, they're kicking and screaming, but once they're here, they don't want to go back, and they're kicking and screaming not to leave, right? So is that still the case, or?
That is still the case, even more. I mean, if you get dropped into a place like BGC, which most people know BGC, but that is, I mean, it's a small bubble, but that is a first world city. No question about it. It is planned beautifully. The restaurants are, I mean, among the best you'd ever see in the world, and more affordable. Shopping and everything. So that's a beautiful environment to live. Makati is the same thing. And even we were just in Cebu. Now the city looks like a bit of a construction site because there's so much going on, but it's on the way. So yes, that is a real situation where once they come here, people want to stay. I'm just talking to a Indian guy actually for a job I'm working on, and he came here a few years ago. Since then, he just adores the place. He's brought his family here, went through the expensive visa process for his whole family, his mom. And he just signed a 10-year lease on his condo because he's, no matter what, I'm staying.
Well, you touched on something that's very interesting there. Is that, the visa requirement, is that something we need to work on? Because I hear that, others in Asia, Thailand, for instance, even Taiwan, Singapore, they're relaxing many of their requirements really to draw more.
Everywhere is.
And the Philippines really hasn't done much really to make that. Some they're looking at, I think, e-visas now, but mostly for tourists. But I hear some people complain about, if they want to work in the region, it's not so easy because of the visa requirements relative to what Thailand or maybe the other countries will require. Is that true?
It is a complaint I've heard.
Okay.
The process of getting a work visa, and it's attached to the company, I think, and then if you move jobs, there's some issues like that. So anything that can be made better.
Sure.
I think a bigger thing, though, for business people is the numbers of permits and authorizations and things like that.
The ease of doing business still.
Yes, and if they get one bad bit of advice, all of a sudden they might get a visit from the tax authorities or the fire marshal, and there's funny things going on. And they get really afraid.
Right.
So I know it's improving, but it's not what it used to be. And once they get over that initial hump, then exactly like you said, they want to stay and they want to see it out for the long term.
Well, one of the things that's coming up is, of course, the State of the Nation address, right? Okay. And, in talking about, all these permits and the ease of doing business, are there other things that you're hearing from your clients or from the people you interact with? And, things that they may say something like, wow, I wish this would be different here, then I would choose the Philippines more than, some other countries in the region. Are there something else that maybe you're hearing from other people that we should look at?
Well, the traffic situation.
Sure,
how can you solve it when the country is going like this and everybody's buying cars?
Maybe go to Iloilo or Bacolod, right?
Yes, I was just in Bacolod last week, and what a place to live! Beautiful. Everything is a fraction of the price.
Right.
People are even more smiley and so forth, and no traffic. And beautiful now, restaurants and places to shop all coming online. So I would say moving out of the main centers, Metro Manila, I guess mainly, in anywhere else, and you're going to be in for a great surprise.
Well, tell them to look at Clark. I mean, Clark is doing well as well.
Subic, I mean, fantastic examples of a great place to work and live and so on. Yes.
Right. So are there other things that you're hearing from other people besides, traffic? I mean, there are other things. Overall, are people having a good experience working in the Philippines?
Yes, it is a good experience, and they make friends here. They enjoy the lifestyle now. Where you can go to fancy, nice restaurants, get beautiful service and food and all that kind of stuff, and for less. Experiences that you could not afford in other countries. Going to resorts.
So going back to that question earlier about what you'd like to hear from Son, because I want to circle back to the main topic, and the purpose of the awards is to make the country a premier business destination.
Correct.
Right? Is there something else that maybe would be nice to hear, right, from the government, or maybe nice to hear from the president when he talks about that? Maybe would make that aim of yours for the Philippines to be a premier business destination for global enterprises to be more reality?
Clint, I really think it's more just getting the message out. There was so many years a hangover of bad news from the old days. The story now is a good one. And I think we just need to get that message out more. So this is why we made our events biased. We're only promoting the good stories.
Right.
And, and I think, it's one thing Filipinos have said that I people like me can make a contribution because we can tell the story for Filipinos.
Sure.
It's like if you go to Canada, Clint,
sure.
you mentioned, and you ask Canadians, well, is Canada a good place to do business? Do Canadians work? As Canadians will say, well, yeah, it's a good place. You should come. Good people work. That's not correct. But now, it's not as credible as if
right. I see what you mean.
An American guy says it, or a German guy, or a Japanese guy.
It's not self-serving, right?
Right?
Yeah.
So this is what I can do here. So if I can get as many people from different countries, and Filipinos too, of course,
right.
and we can make that message, that becomes a compelling story. So this is the background of the event.
Well, Richard, it's been a pleasure talking to you and certainly uplifting. Before we go, you want to leave a message for our audience?
Sure. If people want to join us, Asia CEO Awards, this is the 15th year. This is the largest event. We have all of the top industry leaders join us at the Marriott, the largest 5-star ballroom in the nation and the only one that can hold the event. Join us. It's asia-ceo-awards.org. Fill out your nominations. We need to have people who we can put on the stage to show the world of the great things that are happening in Philippines. So join us. Be glad to have you.
Richard, thank you very much. And I also would like to thank our viewers watching this program and watching the replay. I'd like to thank Pastor Apollo Kibuloy for making this program possible. This has been Business and Politics. I'm Dante Kling-Ang, and I'll see you next week.